Hey guys, today we're going to do a little comparison shopping and pit a crop sensor camera, the top of the line, king of the mountain, flagship D500 against one of Nikon's full frame cameras that's roughly the same price, the D750. I'm going to tell you what I chose when I was looking to add a camera body to my arsenal and why I made the decision I made. This is a personal choice and not everybody's going to reach the same conclusion. If you're making a checklist, the D500 is going to win right off the bat in most categories. It's the newest model. Obviously, it has all of Nikon's latest technology built in. You will find a touch screen. You will find SnapBridge, which is Bluetooth connectivity, so you can easily connect your camera to your phone. It will shoot at 11 frames per second, which is incredibly fast. And it has the autofocus system of the D5, so the latest and greatest top-of-the-line autofocus system. So you're really getting kind of a baby D5 in the D500. You're getting a robust, professional body. You're getting a frame rate that is blazing fast, and you're getting a build quality that is the best Nikon makes. So what are some of the advantages of the D750? Well, first and foremost, the D750 is a full frame camera. The sensor of the D750 is more than twice as large as the sensor used in the D500. Even though the D500 is going to have more advanced X-Speed 5 image processing, which certainly will produce better results at higher ISOs than has been available or possible in previous generations of crop sensor DSLRs. The D750 just has a bigger sensor. And the sensor in the D750 is outstanding, by the way. Many people have hailed the D750 as the low light king because it performs so well producing clean files at high ISOs. Now the question is, will the D500 sensor perform comparably as well as the D750 sensor at high ISOs? We don't know the answer to that question yet because Nikon has not let us get our hands on review units of the camera. But it will be very difficult for any crop sensor DSLR at this point in the game to surpass the performance of a full frame camera like a D750. Another advantage for the D750 is the pop-up onboard flash. The D500 does away with the onboard flash, which for me is not really a significant consideration one way or the other. I very rarely use the onboard flash, but for some people, they really rely on the onboard flash, especially as a master flash to trigger other slave flashes. Another factor to consider with regard to the D500 is availability and reliability. Now, with regard to availability, before launch, Nikon announced a delay of at least 6 weeks in the camera reaching North American shores. Originally, it was slated to launch in mid-March, and they pushed back the launch to late April. And that is assuming that you've pre-ordered the camera and are already well to the front of the line. If you did not pre-order the camera, then who knows, we could be looking at availability into May, June, July. There simply are no guarantees. Secondly, with regard to reliability, in the past few years, Nikon has had a number of issues with reliability of its new products coming straight off the line. Probably the most notorious incident was the D600 full frame DSLR, which had major oil and dust problems with oil actually getting onto the sensor. And there have been other problems with first generation new release Nikon products. The 300mm f4 phase Fresnel lens has had a problem with the VR not working at slower shutter speeds, which frankly is where you really kind of want the VR to be working. Unless we forget, the 200 to 500mm f5.6 had an issue with autofocus when it shipped. And in fact, after pre-ordering the lens, I ended up having to box up my lens, send it back to Nikon USA for a firmware update to correct the bug that was in the launch version of the product. So the bottom line is Nikon's recent track record with regard to new product launches has not been stellar. Will the D500 be different? We don't know. Do you want to be the guinea pig and run the risk possibly of there being some sort of production flaw. Finally, I'm going to consider price. You simply can't ignore price as a factor when deciding between cameras. And the D500 is priced at the very top of the crop sensor line, as you might imagine, with a suggested retail price of right around $2,000 US. There are a number of full frame Nikons that are available for the same or less money. You can pick up a brand new D750 body for right around the same price at $2,000 US. You could get a refurbished model from Nikon USA for anywhere from $1,650 to $1,499. And if you're willing to buy a gray market model, you could pick up a gray market model for as low as $1,299. So with the gray market model, you're not going to have any sort of US warranty or any sort of coverage from Nikon USA. However, you might be saving $700 up front off the purchase of a new D750, much less off the purchase of the crop sensor D500. So I told you that I would reveal my choice. I personally chose to get a D750 full frame camera, and I'm going to tell you why I made that choice. First of all, I already have a D7100. The D7100 is an outstanding crop sensor DSLR. I think there's a lot to be said for owning both a crop sensor and a full frame Nikon body, because if you look at the price of the D7100, it's not really that much more than the latest state-of-the-art teleconverter. If you're buying a brand new US model, it clocks in at around $500. Whereas these days you could pick up a D7100 for not much more than that. I think you should almost, if you're a wildlife shooter, consider a crop sensor Nikon body the best teleconverter that money can buy. The 1.5 crop factor comes in very handy for birds, wildlife, action, and full frame is wonderful for low light situations. When I'm in a place like Yellowstone National Park and I want to go out and photograph elk or moose, well, they're most often active early in the morning and then, of course, the magic hour late in the day. And the point is, the light is lower in those times when they're very active. You really want that low light performance of a full frame camera. Also, quite often with wildlife in places like Yellowstone, with bison, moose, and elk, you can actually get up pretty close. Now, with bear and birds, you probably are not going to be getting very close. You really shouldn't be getting close with bear. So that's when a crop body comes in handy. If you have to only pick one, this decision boils down to what kind of photography you do and what kind of camera is going to work best for you. You know, for example, if you shoot a lot of sports and action photography, I think you're going to want that 1.5 crop factor and you're going to want that 11 frames per second frame rate. If you shoot a lot of landscape or portrait photography, and if a lot of your photography happens in places where the light is low, then you will appreciate the benefits of the full frame sensor. Even though I went ahead and purchased a D750, it doesn't mean I'm not going to add a D500 to my stable at some point. Just don't tell my wife. Eventually, I might sell the D7100 and upgrade to the D500. I will probably be doing so after the D500 is already on the market for a few months, and if there are any teething issues with it, they will have come to the fore and Nikon will have corrected any kind of production problems with it. This is not a knock on the D500. This is more a reflection on what I needed to help my photography. And I think when you're making this decision, really you need to think about what kind of photography you do and what gear will help support that photography. Everybody has a different budget. Everybody has different goals in photography. Different people have different types of photography that they enjoy. For me, I really appreciate the benefits of having a crop sensor body and a full frame body. And during times of good light or when I need the extra reach, I will go for the crop sensor camera. And during times of low light or when reach is not such a factor, I will go for the full frame camera. It's sort of a best of both worlds scenario. So that's it, guys, just a quick video with some comparison shopping, putting the D500 up against the D750. Thanks.
If you liked the video, give it a thumbs up. If you disliked it, give it a thumbs down. Feel free to leave a comment. And of course, don't forget to subscribe.